Ahoy Rum Explorers, I'm Nia and today we're here at Bier Distillery and Brewery in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Cool little place, by the way. It is snowing, so you can see this beautiful weather. It's about 30 degrees, but super excited. So let's check out the rum.
So that is actually the royal crest of the family for the Netherlands. So the Prince of Orange is basically how it got started. That's why we have the orange craze. We also have the pineapple golden stout, kind of more of the history behind it, especially for the family Beerling. They came over from the Netherlands where they owned a bakery, lots of breweries too. So Joel just decided to continue the tradition here. We just got done again with a rye mash yesterday, but we have our system set up so we can both brew and distill with just a couple quick changes, a couple different levers moved over, pipes. So we have our final still for the columns leading up. Again, alcohol is separated out through the bubble plates in each of them. A lot of people say, oh, you know, it's so tall, 2 stories, and we're like, honestly, you could do it with a 1 story if you just keep continually running it through and through.
Yeah.
It's very much a marketing ploy. Some places are like, oh, we, finalize this 3 times, 4 times, 10 times. And like, if you don't start out with an actual good batch, it doesn't really matter how many times.
How many places
So,
it's just a column.
Yep. So just the column still. Currently, we had all 20 plates. It depends. Joel sometimes will go up there and mess around with it, and just depending on how much we want to distill off, because we can stop at that first column going.
Here?
Yep.
Okay.
Otherwise, if not, we can go all the way to the top.
It's more than double if you continue going. Okay.
Yep. This is usually our mash kettle that we were using for our rye. We end up grinding it all through our mill. It goes up through the auger and down. We'll have our piping leading down with our kettle slide, so we can keep the additions going. We have the water filtration. It's all reverse osmosis water, so it's wonderful. There's nothing else in it, very pure, especially when you're trying to make a really good batch of either beer or liquor. So.
Is it city water, or is there like a river nearby that you usually?
So we do get city water, but we run it through both the reverse osmosis and through a water filter, so it gets filtered out at least twice.
Okay.
Same thing when we were doing it for the beer, because then we can also put up to the hydro pump and measure out exactly, this is exactly 40 gallons. It's going to be very consistent for each batch, so we don't have to worry about the next batch being like, oh, we put in 50 instead and it's watered down.
Okay, cool. Yep. How's your yeast? Do you use
Very, very good yeast. Sometimes we save yeast from previous batches if we like the consistency of it. Otherwise, we'll do brand new yeast. We try to get that source from the same supplier, just so again, it's very consistent.
Okay.
We do have some in the fridge, and I can show you that. So we'll run it through here, we'll run it out through the pump and into our totes, which I'll have in the fermentation room. I can show you those. And then when it's done fermenting, we'll put it back in, heat it back up, reboil, run it through the pipes, down through our condenser. So then again, the alcohol is separated off from the water. This will chill it out though, so the vapor will turn back into a liquid form, and then we can collect it.
How do you cool your condenser?
So we run it through with our water tank. So basically the pipes are running under. We also have water in our bright tank too. Keep it cool, use it again and again. Just because if we can save it, we're going to.
Yeah. So this is the same setup that you have for beer as well as
This spirit.
the
Yeah.
spirits, right?
Yep.
We just
So for brewing our beer, sometimes we will actually use one of the mash tuns, will be one of those steel containers. We do have an actual milk ton that we redid too, turned that into a mash tun, but that's just like for our very big batches of beer. Normally we're running between 2 to 3 barrels.
Okay.
Then again, just pump it over, goes in, it's really easy. It's a great setup. So we try not to, you know, if you use the barrel, use it again for something else, so we can put like in a different spirit or wine, or we've had some like local breweries that we've collaborated with, Trail Point Brewery. We currently have their wee off kilter style beer. We made it into the whiskey. Yeah.
So are you doing the rum distilling as well? He is doing, both.
So I do most of the distilling.
Most of the
Tracy
distilling.
does most of the brewing, so
Okay.
kind of split tasks that way. But distilling pretty much involves brewing too, at least in terms of making whiskey. Whiskey is essentially distilled beer.
Yeah.
Rum, as you know, is going to be fermented from a byproduct of sugarcane. So a lot of
Right.
times that's molasses. In our instance, we actually use panela, which is a dehydrated sugarcane juice.
Okay.
So
Very nice, very sticky.
Yeah. So use panela, right?
So
Yeah.
that's sugarcane syrup.
Syrup.
it's juice, it's dehydrated sugarcane
Sugar.
juice. So basically, it looks like brown sugar.
Yeah, brown sugar.
But actually, well, it's not brown sugar because brown sugar is actually white refined sugar.
Vanilla's the right.
And then they
is
add
the right
molasses to
It's the
terminology.
right name, yeah.
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 The right name. Yeah. Not quite brown sugar.
Right. It's much better than brown sugar.
It is.
Actually.
Yeah.
It's quite delicious. In
Yeah.
fact, when I'm making the rum, pretty much I'm eating half of it, and then the rest of it goes. to the
Yeah.
And where do you source
We
it?
have.
Yeah.
So pretty much, I think the place I get it from, they're trying to open up here in the U.S. But a lot of it originally
Nice.
I was like, I think we have some open.
What do you use the molasses for?
That was actually, so we do make products for other distilleries. So, so this is actually, we used to buy lots of molasses in buckets.
Okay.
And we don't use them anymore, but we still have the buckets, which are useful for a lot of things.
Okay.
But-
Have you tried any other types of juices for distilling rum aside from the?
just pretty much just molasses and then vanilla. That's what we've done before.
Really good.
Good idea. For
the rum.
For the rum.
Well, we don't put the rum into new barrels. Pretty much we buy new barrels and then we use them the first time for whiskey. So in the US here,
Okay. So
you can only use
basically
it.
ex bourbon or ex.
So right, so we do use essentially
You reuse
ex-bourbon
your
barrels.
own.
Well, we use our own barrels. Right?
Okay.
So,
Okay.
and then
That's great, though.
after we put the rum into it, then we can put beer into it.
Right.
And then after we empty the beer, maybe we'll put rum back
Rum
into
back
it.
in,
Or
yeah.
you're talking about the Trail Point one, basically a beer. So then we put
Yeah.
rye back into that barrel.
Sure.
So there's a lot of fun
That's
things you can do.
What's your output like?
Well,
Rum.
rum. Unfortunately, here in Michigan, rum is probably not the #1 spirit. That's going to be whiskey for sure. Weirdly enough, in Wisconsin, for instance, it seems like brandy is really popular. But here in Michigan, when we're right across, Lake Michigan,
Yeah.
here in Michigan, hardly anybody buys brandy. So who knows? But either way, Michigan's probably not a big market for rum.
Yeah.
So we really don't do a lot of volume of rum. But we do use the rum obviously for cocktails and things like that, so it's important for us to have it.
Yeah, for sure.
And yeah, the more of it we sell, the more of it we'll make. So.
Yeah.
So to the age, do you add anything to the rum, or is it just age and your?
So, I mean, obviously the spiced rum, the obsidian, I mean,
Yes,
that's
that
got a
one,
lot of
yes.
stuff added to it. But the white rum and the barrel-aged rum, we don't add anything to it.
Okay.
So
So the coloring is
no sugar, no color.
Okay.
Obviously, the spiced rum again, I mean, that's black.
Yes, it's
so
spiced,
anytime you see
yes.
something that's black, it's got
Absolutely.
caramel added to it.
Absolutely.
You know, your clear rum, you know, it's more akin to a agricole.
Well, I mean, that's actually kind of this, because agricole is going to be straight sugarcane juice, right? So
yeah.
we can't use sugarcane juice here because it would go bad by the time we
Yeah,
got
you
here.
have to
So-
have like.
And it'd be kind of silly shipping
Yeah.
water all that distance.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, panela is essentially the same thing. It's just that the water is dehydrated out of it or boiled out of it first.
Well,
Whereas,
what I meant is whatever you're doing to
Oh,
that,
okay.
it is really
Oh, okay.
making it seem like it's
Gotcha.
a sugar cane juice.
well, good. I usually sometimes when I'm talking about the rum, I do use agricole as a way to describe
should.
it.
It is,
But
it
most
is.
people don't know what
Yeah,
it is.
yeah, you
so.
should.
Yeah, you
It's-
should. It is legitimately.
And I think actually it's a protected term too, so
It
I
is.
couldn't
It is.
actually call it agricole.
But believe it or not, we just recently found out that most of the rum made in like Martinique, where they have the AOC, is they use sugarcane syrup. They don't even use most
Oh,
they don't-
distilleries.
yeah, they
Yeah,
don't
they
use
don't even use sugarcane juice. They use
Okay.
syrup, which is what you're using, which is panela.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's essentially okay. We can get very picky about this.
Yeah, we can.
But essentially, the outcome of the actual sugarcane juice or syrup
Mhm.
is kind of the same. But whatever
Yeah.
process you're
Yeah.
using, because I mean, you can always add. Listen, there's going to be a difference between adding 1 part sugar and 1 part water to 1 part sugar to 10 parts water, right? So, but essentially, whatever process you're making to dilute that is the correct.
Well, it's good.
It is
Thank you.
very,
Very, very impressive.
yeah,
Okay.
very, very
Yeah.
close to what a sugarcane juice or syrup is.
Well, good. Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome. How do you so since you have new barrels, right? How do you char your barrels?
Well, we buy the barrels charred, so they come from the manufacturer, the cooperage already charred.
And what's the level?
Usually 3.
3.
Okay.
All right.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So toasting would be like nothing, and then we have level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5
so
char.
level 3.
So we've done a some with
Usually
usually
that's-
we go through filters so you don't end up with a piece of wood in your glass.
No, of course. Yeah. You're not gonna get like a char, like a little like
Full
piece of,
splinter, yeah. We
Yeah.
want the splinters out of the bottom.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, obviously, yeah.
Age with that.
So
Couple
from start
minutes.
to finish, how long does it take on average for your brews for your beer?
So basically the brewing it is an all-day process. Once we add the yeast in, it just depends on the yeast. We had one beer that was finishing a week later to the
Most
Maple
of them-
Rumble, but
yeah,
most of them are a
finish
little
in
faster.
A week or so. I mean, we let them generally kind of start the stop process is about 3 weeks on average. So,
All right.
so in terms of when we brew it to when it's on tap, we might be around 3 weeks.
And your bourbons are legit bourbons by the bourbon laws. Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, they are.
They're definitely over the
Okay.
50%.
And I think I saw something bottled and bond. Is that,
Yep.
am I accurate to say
Yep.
that there's something bottled and bond?
Yeah, we have bottled and bond bourbon, and
Okay.
also we just came out with a barrel proof bourbon too. So
Wow, barrel proof.
They're both over 4 years old.
What's the proof
We
on the
should
barrel?
try
proof?
that.
122.
Oh, nice.
Definitely.
What's the mash bill on that, if you don't mind me asking?
So our mash bill for bourbon is 80% corn, 15% barley, and 5% wheat.
We just, for us in Florida, they just passed a law that a brewery or distillery, as long as you are a brewery and distillery, you can serve your room
And sell your
and
liquor.
sell your liquor
Right, but they-
unrestricted.
That used to be different though, right? Because
Yeah,
it
like-
used to be where
They-
you had to only could buy like 6 bottles a year, so they had every time you went into distillery, you had to show them your ID and they had to write.
No, not for us. I think
Okay.
the
Because I have some friends that have owned a distillery and
so for the
in Florida.
distillery, you couldn't actually sell it unless you had a license that let you sell it.
Okay.
And it was a liquor license. It
It's
wasn't a
funny they
distillery
would.
license.
So we went to like a couple. Like my favorite was this steel tie. They give you like a little coin. So it'll be like,
Okay.
hey,
You buy the coin.
You buy the coin,
You buy
and they'll
the
be like,
juice.
oh, we're gonna give you mocktails, and then you pour your samples in
Yeah,
there.
Oh,
they
okay.
give you samples for the coin. You do your
Which
own
was
pour.
$20 for like 4 drinks,
Yeah.
technically.
So they had some ways around that.
Oh, okay.
But with the law change is that if you got a distiller's license, you could sell your own products.
Which
in
is
your-
amazing. But that was through COVID. I think they figured out
Yeah.
there's all these like small
Yeah, so we
businesses.
were already allowed to do that. I mean, the tasting license that we have, I mean, pretty much everyone does it.
Yeah.
It's not any additional pain.
It
in
makes
that.
sense.
We did, but they did add. We weren't allowed to do canned cocktails before COVID, so we can do canned cocktails now, which is nice.
That's awesome. That's good. Some good change, positive changes, I guess, came
Yeah.
from COVID.
Yeah.
And do you sell any of your stuff local to any restaurants?
Yeah, spirits. Yeah.
Your spirits?
Yeah.
Okay. None of the beers go.
Beers
to-
we only make pretty much for in-house. We do take them to festivals too.
Okay.
So I mean, pretty much in-house, and then we go to festivals. Like we have our next one coming up in February.
Okay.
That's right at the ballpark down the road here, which is nice.
So what's your favorite distilled product that you make?
Rye, probably.
Right? Is it because you make it?
Oh, I mean, just in general. I mean,
Yeah. What your favorite
product?
product?
Like you're at home, what do you pour
what do
for
you-
yourself?
if you-
My own stuff.
Oh, your own stuff. Okay,
Yeah.
so you make it for yourself then. You're like, I'm gonna make this because I like
There's
it.
really, I mean, to be honest, there's nothing else. There's nothing I could buy that for over what I make.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, tailored to your taste buds.
The absinthe for me.
So the absinthe is
Yes.
pretty.
You make so you make absinthe?
Yes, we do.
I do.
Yeah.
I
So the
make
barrel
it.
aged absinthe in particular would be a top choice for me
That would be-
too.
yes.
Also, we have an Amaro, which is a Italian herbal liqueur. So that's one of my.
What's
Probably
the-
if I bring all my bottles home, the Amaro would be the first one that go empty. Just because you can kind of drink it straight out the bottle. But
What's the base for the absinthe? Is it like a gin?
So basically, it's a neutral spirit that we then distill through with the wormwood, anise, and fennel. So it's gonna be a traditional absinthe. There's not gonna be any like dye to make it this bright green or anything
Right,
like that
right,
you
yeah.
might see.
So it'll be clear then.
It has color from like the chlorophyll, so I can show you the bottle, but it's gonna have like a greenish brown.
tint.
Yeah, but it's not gonna be like a color you can't find in nature.
And with that, our tour concluded. Thank you so much, Tracy and Joel from Bier Distillery and Brewery. We had an amazing time. We truly enjoyed all your spirits and beer. Thank you so much. We look forward to coming back.